kind of resume I've created and how am I getting a lot of interview calls. I have divided my resume into majorly three sections, that is role, key achievements, and technical expertise used in day-to-day work. Now you would think that I am a fresher, Sahil. This video might not be useful to me, but as I mentioned that you learn from your seniors. Okay, so there are majorly four kind of entities. First is ATS, application tracking system. Second filter that comes, the person who reviews it is the recruiter. Then the third thing, that how do you make a ATS system happy? Okay, application tracking system. First thing I want to mention, you will be definitely able to create a good resume. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to talk about my resume. So there are a lot of people who have been asking me that what kind of resume I've created and how am I getting a lot of interview calls. So one secret behind it is the company I was part of, that was Microsoft. That obviously gives me advantage to get interview calls, but second most important thing that comes is the strong resume I have. Okay, now the question that comes is, how did I build a good resume? So the first tip that I have for everybody before I start this resume review video is that if you have a senior in your team, if you have an architect in your team, go and check out his resume, okay, and try to replicate that, because the people who will be reviewing your resume will be of that level. So you need to have that kind of maturity in your resume. Now, first thing that comes up is, who am I? I am a software engineer too at Atlassian and ex Microsoft. I have around 3.5 years of experience in backend. Now you would think that I am a fresher, Sahil. This video might not be useful to me, but as I mentioned that you learn from your seniors. So this is going to be a very helpful video. Why I'm saying that? I'm going to explain the work experience part, but what you have to do is you have to use all that work experience part that I'm going to explain in your project experience section. So that's what you have to do, and nothing else will be very different. So the main thing that comes up is how you display your work, okay, how you display your impact, how you display your technical skill. So even if you have made a very simple project, you can display it in a way that it will be liked. So the main thing is like how you sell it, right? And resume is the way where you sell it. If in a good way, then you will get selected, and if not, then you will not get selected. And I'm going to tell you like what is the best way to sell it. So do watch the video till the end. So the first thing that comes up is we have to think in perspective of what are the people who will see our resume. Okay, so there are majorly four kind of entities. First is ATS, application tracking system. Second filter that comes, the person who reviews it is the recruiter. Then the third thing that comes is technical interviews, and the fourth one is hiring managers. Okay, so if we keep all them in mind, what are their perspectives, and if we can keep them happy, then I think our resume is perfect. So let's just go step by step how we'll make them happy. Now the first question that comes is, how do you make a ATS system happy? Okay, application tracking system. But the thing is, Sahil, what is ATS? So I'm expecting that till now you'll know what ATS is, but still I'll explain. ATS is application tracking system, and it kind of helps companies to filter out few resumes out of thousands of resumes. Okay, so recently, like what this ATS is built of, it's you use like AI under the hood. What it tries to do is they have a given job description, they have a resume, and they then try to filter out the candidates which are best suitable for that. Okay, now there's no rocket science or anything to clear a ATS. So what you have to do, you have to see a job description, okay, and try to extract out the keywords and put them in your resume. So the hard work is like for every different company you're applying, if you have to clear its ATS, you have to make sure that whatever the job description keywords are, you have to put that in your resume. And second major thing is, don't use templates which are not readable by ATS. So just don't use very complex template, but most of them they will be able to read. Now comes the second entity, that is recruiters. Okay, So first thing I want to mention, with no offense, that recruiters have very little knowledge or zero technical knowledge. Okay, so what their main task is to recruit the best candidates. Okay, but they are not very technical. If they would have been technical, they would have been software engineers, right? So the thing is, what they do is they have a given job descriptions. Again, they'll see the keywords, different keywords, that we need a Java developer, we need a C sharp developer, we need someone from backend, we need someone who knows load testing and things like that, right? So they just pick that and try to see that in your resume. Now, what you can do to make this job easier for them is to have a dedicated section of keywords. Okay, so that's what I have on top right. That is dedicated section of keywords where I have mentioned things like C sharp, Java, backend development, distributed systems, etc. Okay, so whatever the job description is, you have to edit these keywords according to that. Okay. Now, second thing that you can do, okay, so they will not go through all of your work experience, project description, because they don't understand it, right? So what they'll go through is your key achievements, right? This everybody's interested in, what you've achieved. So you have to have this section where you write things like you've won some hackathons, maybe you're a competitive coder and you have achieved some kind of rating, maybe you've solved like 1,000 questions on lead code. So this is where you have to mention your achievements and they will definitely read it. Okay, third thing I do it for them is that there's a basic summary of my resume at the top. Okay, this is very useful. So this is also I write to kind of impress them. So yeah, these are the main three sections that you have to focus on for them. Now coming to the main section, that is, how do I impress a technical person? You impress a technical interviewer or a person by your technical skills. Now, what I see a lot of mistakes that people do, usually freshers and also a lot of experienced people, is that suppose they're working in XYZ company on XYZ project, they'll mention the basic project things, they'll mention the technologies, and that's it. Okay, so this is a mistake. Okay, so you just write that you work on C sharp, you developed this API, you developed this feature. No. Okay, what you have to think, with the perspective of the technical interview, right? You have to think what he wants. Okay, if you go in the market tomorrow, what kind of software engineer or backend engineer do you want? Okay, I want an engineer who knows about maybe load balancer, who knows about different kind of APIs, different kind of protocols, who knows about caching, who knows about databases, who has worked with scalable systems, who knows things like availability and things like that, right? So you have to kind of write a lot of HLD terms, okay, generic terms which are understood by everyone, and then in those sections you mention the specific technologies for engineer. So let's just dive into my resume and see what it looks like. So if you see the work experience in my resume, so what I've done is, for every job experience like software engineer 2, I have divided my resume into majorly three sections, that is role, key achievements, and technical expertise used in day-to-day work. Okay, role describes what kind of work I do, what kind of project I work on. Second is key achievements, which basically describes my impact. This section is majorly to impress the hiring managers. That is the fourth entity I talked about. And third section is technical expertise used in day-to-day work, which is there to impress the technical people. Now let's see the role thing. I worked in Outlook calendaring sharing team. Okay, and what I've mentioned is that CEOs, VPs of Fortune 500 share their calendar with delegates, and we own the replication of calendar. So the description is such that if a hiring manager is reading it, he'll get to know the impact of it, and at the same time, if a technical person is reading it, he'll get to know that I work on replication of calendars. Now coming to the key achievement section, okay, which I mentioned that is for hiring manager. So I said that recently led and delivered a high stake cross org initiative to migrate current replications system traffic to a new architecture which involved message queues. So what I focused here is that I led and delivered a high stake project. What does that mean? That I am independent enough to work alone, and also I can lead teams, I can mentor people, which I think a hiring manager will like. Okay, second thing I've mentioned is 1500 M calls per day, which were migrated with reliability of 99% and zero downtime in live production servers. So here I have talked about the impact of the work I have worked on. Okay, so this is one major thing and one major criteria of a hiring manager. When he's hiring, he wants a person who has worked on big projects. Okay, so that when he comes here, he's able to handle that pressure. He knows how to handle customer support and things like that. Now coming to the third section, that is technical expertise used in day-to-day work. Now here, what I told earlier, right? What I'm doing is I'm telling experience in both monolithic and distributed architectures and backend technologies I work on daily basis are listed below. So what I've done is I've written some generic terms, message and queues, event-driven systems, monitor and logging alerting. Then I have written in the second experience API development, microservices architecture, API gateway authentication. So what I'm doing is I'm using some generic terms, okay, generic HLD terms, which I think everybody should know about. And this is what I have worked on. Okay, and now in each of them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention a specific technologies. Like if you're using message queues, then you have to mention Kafka in that. Okay, if you're saying monitoring, logging, and alerting, then you have to maybe mention some Azure or maybe AWS monitoring system. Similarly, when you're talking about API development, you have to talk about gRPC, you have to talk about REST, and if you're talking about API gateway and authentication, you have to talk about JWT and things like that, right? But you'll see that a lot of those things are missing in my resume, and the reason being because the lot of technologies we use in Microsoft were internal. Okay, so I was not able to mention them. Even if I would have mentioned them, you wouldn't have understood that. Now we come to the personal project section. So this is very small section for me because I am an experienced person, and the thing that matters for me is the work experience and not the personal projects. But if you're a fresher watching this, what you have to do instead of work experience, you have to write personal projects as your first priority. Okay, and if you are from IIT, then the college section should be first. But if you are not from a very good college, then you have to mention the personal projects and try to explain your projects in the same way. What you have to do is you have to have a role, you have to have what was the impact of it, okay, what you were trying to do with it. Finally, you have to use your technical expertise. Now, if you're a fresher, you might not know all these terms, but what I would suggest in this market where everybody is doing DSA, just go and start reading HLD. Okay, if you read HLD, you will be definitely able to create a good resume which will differentiate yourself from your peers. Okay, so I think that was pretty much it. And you might say that I have not shared a lot of basic things, things like you should bold some text, you should prioritize this section over that. Okay, you should have GitHub repo links, you should show your live demo of your project and things like that. But there are already tons of video around that. I'm expecting that you would have watched those, and now you're watching my video. I think that's it. If you like this video, do subscribe the channel and press the bell icon.